Liwa congratulated the cadets on passing the first test and informed them that they would be awarded a bronze medal to signify their position among the lower ranks of the academy. For the next 4 years, he said, they would train as cadets of the demonic academy. He went on to explain the academy's strict code of conduct. Students were not allowed to respond with yes or no. The only acceptable reply was motto. Any other response, he warned, would be seen as a request for the order to be repeated. When he asked if they understood, the cadets responded in unison, motto. After that, Liwa suggested that the cadets begin forming groups. Not long after, Dr. Zhang arrived carrying a treatment tray. He announced that he was ready and asked if they should begin the procedure. Prince Qion addressed him as doctor, but Zhang corrected him, insisting he be called Zhang Myon, and added that the cadet should use his full name instead of just doctor. Qion then asked about his condition, expressing concern about its severity. Zhang Myon apologized, explaining that, as a cadet of the demonic academy, Qion would require at least 11 to 15 days before he could participate in tests again. Puzzled, Prince Qion asked for clarification, internally debating whether to let Nano initiate its self-recovery mode. If Nano healed him instantly, it would arouse suspicion. However, relying on normal treatment would leave him lagging behind in training. He admitted to himself that he knew nothing about what had happened after the first test since he'd been taken to the infirmary. Dr. Zhang tried to console him, saying that if Qion were treated by an ordinary doctor, recovery would take months. But since he was a student of Zhang Wu, the process would be considerably faster. Qion noted, however, that it would still take a lot of time, especially while balancing his training. Dr. Zhang added that it might not help much, but he would pretend not to know that Qion was receiving martial arts instruction from the right guardian. Qion thanked him sincerely, promising to repay him in the future. Zhang brushed it off, saying he didn't expect anything in return. Then, Zhang quickly removed his shirt, stating that they would begin acupuncture, which required exposing the torso. As he examined Qion's body, he was stunned. Despite having no formal martial arts training, the young cadet's physique was far more developed than expected. Zhang wondered if it was achieved through Weigong, rather than Nigong. Taking a needle in hand, he declared that the first one would be inserted into the center of Qion's chest. At that moment, Nano detected a threat from the sharp needle and triggered its self-defense mode. Qion immediately ordered it to stop, explaining that this was a treatment, not an attack. He questioned whether Nano could differentiate between medical procedures and actual harm. Nano responded by deactivating the defense system as commanded, but warned that unless notified in advance, it would continue to interpret any injury as a threat. Qion acknowledged this and told Nano not to react to any treatment he willingly accepted. Nano confirmed that it understood. As the acupuncture began, Qion noticed his stomach pain diminishing. Nano reported that it had accessed data from its built-in acupuncture database and identified the points along his chest, under his heart, and on his arms that were accelerating stomach regeneration. Qion found himself comprehending the process more clearly thanks to the transferred knowledge. Dr. Zhang caught Qion staring and, slightly flustered, suggested he take a nap while the treatment took effect. Qion agreed, though he realized that with Nano constantly relaying information, sleep might be difficult. Nano continued detailing additional acupuncture points located under his knees, toes, and shins. Qion opened his eyes and pondered whether Nano could heal his internal injuries more discreetly. A faster recovery might alert others, so he wondered if it was possible to appear injured while actually being healed. Nano confirmed that after completing the internal treatment, it could simulate organ damage by altering his pulse randomly. Qion had asked only hypothetically, but was relieved by the answer. If he could keep Dr. Zhang unaware for about 2 weeks, he could use that time to secretly train Nigong with the right guardian. With that decided, he instructed Nano to begin the healing process and fake his condition for Dr. Zhang's inspections. Nano confirmed and initiated self-recovery mode. Meanwhile, Ho Jin Chang ordered the cadets to stand at attention and line up. They responded with motto. Liwa then began to explain the next phase. He stated that until the third test, all cadets would undergo the exams together. To pass the second test and advance to mid-level warrior status, they would need to master basic tactics and strategies. They were given only 20 days to prepare. The cadets were stunned by the tight schedule. One of them wondered aloud whether it would even be possible to memorize all the required material in such a short time. Liwa then explained the reason behind the 20 groups. They would be whittled down to 10 after 3 weeks. One cadet realized this meant that half of them would be expelled. With no top-level cadets in their group, he feared the 6 clans would have the upper hand. Liwa emphasized that this would be the first and last team-based test. If anyone caused conflict within their group, they would all fail. Hojin Chang silently acknowledged that Liwa still had a knack for discouraging people. Liwa concluded the day's schedule and dismissed them, instructing the cadets to return to their dorms and rest. Starting the next day, he said, the instructors before them would begin teaching tactics and techniques in a more supportive manner. One cadet, recalling past experiences, suspected these same instructors had once handled rebellious cadets. Later, Group 8 instructor Im Pyung noticed Cadet 3 still lingering and asked why. Mukiam said he had a question. Im Pyung reminded him that inquiries related to training were not permitted. Mukiam acknowledged this, then asserted his belief that he would become Group 8's leader. Im Pyung reflected privately that while the leadership selection was scheduled for the following day, the 6 clans often disregarded protocol. Mukiam explained that Cadet 7, who was assigned to their group, was currently in the infirmary. Without him, their group might fail the upcoming team test. Since Cadet 7 had missed the orientation, he would be completely uninformed. Mukiam expressed his desire to personally brief him. Privately, he reflected on his low status and how fortunate he was to be grouped with Cadet 7, though he suspected his luck might be short-lived. He even considered inflicting pain on Cadet 7 to disable him. To Mukiam's surprise, Im Pyung agreed that informing Cadet 7 was a good idea and praised Mukiam's initiative. Im Pyung offered to deliver the information himself. Mukiam was shocked and protested, insisting he could go alone. Im Pyung reminded him that cadets were forbidden from entering the main building unless given special permission. Frustrated, Mukiam realized that everything seemed to be going wrong. Though he was a candidate from the Spring Clan, that privilege held no weight here. Left with no other options, he accepted the decision and asked for one favor, to be informed when Cadet 7 would return. Im Pyung agreed, assuring Mukiam he would notify him the following day. Grateful, Mukiam thanked him, resigning himself to wait. Until Prince Cheon returns to their dorms, he silently hoped that Prince Cheon would recover fastly so he could one day make him suffer enough to wish for death. After some time at the main building of the Demonic Academy, Im Pyung asked if the doctor had indeed said 14 days. Dr. Zhang confirmed, explaining that the internal damage was severe enough to require a minimum 2-week stay. Im Pyung sighed, remarking that staying that long would hinder his chances of reaching the top level. He then asked if there was any way to speed up the recovery process. Dr. Zhang calmly responded that this was precisely the issue. If Cadet 7 possessed Nigon, recovery would have been faster. However, since he lacked it, there was no other option but to endure a lengthy healing period. Im Pyung reflected bitterly that the second test was just 3 weeks away. He couldn't believe Cadet 7 would be hospitalized for 2 weeks and worried that his group might be eliminated because of one person. Seeking a solution, he asked permission to speak with Cadet 7, saying he had a lot to discuss with him. Dr. Zhang informed him that Cadet 7 was currently asleep, that would be difficult, and asked should he wake him up. Im Pyung declined the offer to wake him and decided to return the next day. As he took his leave, he glanced at Prince Cheon, thinking to himself that Cheon had barely passed the first test and that this was likely the end of his luck. Shortly after, someone came running toward Prince Cheon's room. The door burst open with a loud kick, jolting Cheon awake. To his surprise, it was Xiao Meng, who entered the room laughing, holding an alcohol bottle in his hand. Xiao Meng teased Cheon, saying that his teacher had arrived. Cheon covers his nose inwardly, tells himself that scent of alcohol filled the air. Xiao Meng asks him he is not going to greet him. Cheon got up, bowed, and politely greeted him with a good morning. Xiao Meng nodded in approval and asked if Cheon had completed the homework he gave him the previous day. When Cheon asked if he was referring to the Nigong breathing technique, Xiao Meng confirmed, reminding him that he had instructed him to memorize everything before his return. Cheon thought back to his treatment in the infirmary just the day before and realized that Xiao Meng must be very short-tempered. Siab Meng then wondered aloud if Cheon hadn't managed to memorize it all. Thankfully, Cheon recalled that Nano had treated him in advance and confidently stated that he had memorized the entire technique. Siab Meng, slightly surprised that Prince Cheon memorized all of it while he was sick, realizing he only said that to provoke him. Nonetheless, he acknowledged Cheon's diligence and complimented him. Cheon thanked him, then asked if his teacher had come a bit too early. Siab Meng asked if he was tired, to which Cheon quickly clarified that he wasn't. Siab Meng expressed relief and explained that they needed to get started right away. He added that he would only be able to train him for 2 weeks and could only visit while he was in the infirmary. Once Cheon returned to the dorms, further contact would be impossible. Cheon admitted he hadn't thought that far ahead. Siab Meng noted that Cheon had been hospitalized immediately upon arrival and couldn't have known. He explained that during the day, he had duties as a main teacher and could only visit this early, otherwise suspicions might arise. Cheon reflected silently that training with an outsider was forbidden in the demonic academy, and being caught could lead to serious consequences. He had expected Siab Meng to be distant, but the man had shown unexpected concern. Cheon was grateful for his consideration. Siab Meng urged him to begin immediately. When Cheon hesitated and asked right now, Siab Meng snapped back, repeating that they didn't have much time and ordered him to sit on the ground. Cheon complied, saying he understood. Siab Meng told him to hurry up. As Cheon sat, he wished Siab Meng would explain what he was about to do. Siab Meng remarked that it was fortunate Cheon had memorized the breathing of 1,000 martials, then placed his hand on Cheon's back. Cheon asked what he was doing, and Siab Meng explained that, due to time constraints, he would channel the flow into him directly. Cheon was confused and asked if he meant stuffing it in. Siab Meng elaborated that it was a refined technique created by Cheon's great-grandfather, a method that required no sensation of chi, as the teacher would handle everything. When Cheon asked about the teacher, Siab Meng ordered him to clench his jaw and warned him not to scream, as alerting the guards would be disastrous. He then began channeling energy into Cheon's body and instructed him to remain silent. Nano Machine immediately detected intangible energy being infused into the user's bloodstream and initiated an analysis. It identified the energy as presumed chi or chakra and began assessing its effects. Cheon realized his teacher's powerful Nigong was forcefully opening his blocked veins. The pressure was overwhelming. Meanwhile, Siab Meng was astonished. There were no blockages in Cheon's energy channels, and his muscles showed signs of prior training. Yet, Siab Meng was aware that Cheon hadn't officially learned any martial arts. He began to wonder if the Lord might have been secretly training or caring for the boy, recalling that among his 7 wives, he had only ever truly cared for Lady Hua. Perhaps he had cared for her son in secret, too. Whatever the case, the results were favorable. With Cheon in this condition, Siab Meng estimated that it would take just 7 days to generate a sufficient amount of Nigong. At the same time, chaos erupted in one of the academy dorms. A fight had broken out among cadets. One had fallen, and several others rushed to him, calling him prince and urging him to stay conscious. Another cadet questioned whether the attacker thought he'd be safe after confronting Cheon Jonsum of the Poison Clan. Top Clan cadet Beak Gi, standing confidently, responded that it didn't matter who the opponent was. At the demonic academy, everything was determined by strength. Now that he had won, he declared himself the new leader of Group 12.